Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at rejected takeoffs. Now we're going to be looking at 3 different kinds. There's actually a bunch of different variations on this, and obviously depending on what happens, you got to be kind of ready for it. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, we're sitting here at lovely Provincetown Municipal Airport. This is basically a little airport on the tip of Cape Cod. If anybody wants to come visit this one, it's actually pretty wild. It's also a great airport for my purposes of demonstration today. So what is a rejected takeoff? A rejected takeoff is when you basically say, I don't want to take off, I'm going back. So you're probably saying, oh, okay, that's pretty straightforward, but it's actually one of those things that you want to practice, and it's something you want to be mindful of. Generally in the real world, when we're describing our initial briefing to our co-pilot or somebody else who's going to be acting as pilot in charge or anything along those lines, one of the things we include is in the event that we have an engine failure during takeoff. So in this particular case, there's usually 3 scenarios that I do. The first one is, if we're not in the air yet, hit the brakes. The second one is, we are in the air. Do we have room to land? Land. Third one, we have a problem. We're already in the air in our airplane. We can't turn around. So we'll demonstrate each one of those in turn today. So first things first, we'll do the standard. We lost our engine during the takeoff run. Go ahead and apply full power. We'll go ahead and assume that we're using no flaps today. If we were using flaps, we want to go ahead and get rid of them. So ripping along, everything's running fine. Keep in mind the plane is vibrating and it's shaking all over the place, and it's going, whoa, and this is not simulated. And the engine dies. So we're going to hold the brakes. We're going to pull the yoke all the way back to our chest, and we're going to go ahead and disengage the flaps, and we're going to maintain positive control of the plane. So there is our first rejected takeoff. That one is the safest of the rejected takeoffs. So let's go ahead and pop ourselves back to the end of the runway here. Woo, don't need to rotate. All right, that's pretty good. Now let's go ahead and do the second situation with a rejected takeoff. And this is when we already get in the air. So the procedure is going to be exactly the same, except for one little complication. And I'll show you exactly what I mean once we get airborne. And that's, remember that your tail right now has got a lot of draft coming off of the propeller. The moment we lose that engine, that draft will shut off, reducing your authority of the elevator. So one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure that your speed stays proper during this. So we get up in the air, and the engine fails. We're going to immediately nose over. We're going to try to get close to the ground. Then we're going to compete with having to hold the nose up and land, do a regular landing. Brakes. We're going to pull the control all the way towards us again. And we have just enough runway to do that. Keep in mind that if this were a longer runway, we would have been in a world of hurt there. But the important thing is you do need to get that nose down as soon as that happens. Otherwise, you're going to run into that problem I mentioned before, where basically you're going to run out of control authority and you're going to pancake. All right, now for my least favorite scenario. I'm going to go ahead and apply full power again, and we're going to take off normally, and we're going to lose the engine during our initial run. Now, some people have discussed this on my channel before, which is the impossible turn, which is trying to make the plane do a 180 after losing an engine. And basically, with this 180, you have the ability to come back and land, or basically do an upwind landing. I'm not going to demonstrate that because we've done that already. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at everybody's nightmare scenario, which is when you're on the way up, but you haven't quite gotten enough altitude to pull off that impossible, that's a new word, impossible turn. So we're going up, everything's running fine. It's a normal day. I want to get a little bit of altitude underneath me for this demonstration here. Everything's fine, I haven't quite got myself good. It's a very, very lovely day today. My engine fails. So first things first, we want to immediately pitch for our best glide speed. We want to look ahead of us, 20 degrees left to right, and pick a place on the ground where we're going to land the plane. So I see some nice sand dunes right there. I'm going to try to kind of stick it between them. We're holding at 65 knots. Again, don't go slower, don't go faster. Oop, a little bit down. Oh, that's a very rough landing. Don't sink. Don't pull back. Because remember, stalling is going to be a lot worse than some of the possibilities. Looks like we're going swimming today. And we're going to go into the sand. Yeah, we're going swimming. Woohoo! Into the drink. Oh, apparently this isn't counted as a drink. So now that is your 3 scenarios. Whenever you're ever flying a plane, always be ready for those. It's worthwhile practicing at your favorite airport that you're normally traveling out of. So apparently I'm swimming here, but I'm not really swimming, but that's okay. Apparently, like I said, one of those things you want to practice. And again, the 4th possibility is that impossible turn where we can try to turn around and land. Enjoy.